Yeah. Still ready. You ready now? Now you ready? Now you ready? All right. Hey, hello YouTube friend. Once again we're here in the studio ready to record our podcast thoughts on what was the final day of the group stage of Euro 2024. We've got Colin, Millar and Charlie Eccleshare in the studio and a whole bunch of people who are going to be who've either already spoken to us or in one case hopefully will be speaking to us as soon as he's finished celebrating Georgia's incredible success in qualifying for the last 16. But in the meantime, let's get rolling with today's podcast. Blah, 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 blah. Intro, totally at the Euros. Wednesday, 26th of June, although potentially not for you, listener, but Wednesday night here as we kick off another totally at the Euros. So much to bring you today. There's hopefully a bit of Nika Kevkashvili, who's busy celebrating Georgia at the moment and their incredible success against Portugal. We'll have a word or two from Dom Fifield on Ukraine, Belgium, and the boos ringing out for Bobby Martinez's side. It's Domenico Tedesco. I'm going to start this whole section again, actually. Yeah. Wednesday, the 26th of June was yesterday for you, listener, but it's still Wednesday for us. Late, as we sit here in the Totally studio. I say we. Got Colin Millar here. Hello, Colin.
Hello, Jimbo.
Welcome to Totally at the Euros.
Thanks very much. It's a nice time after a busy night to be.
Good day to be in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Also here, Charlie Eccleshare, who's manifested in a physical sense.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for struggling in.
Thank you for having me.
It's a big day, as Colin was mentioning, and we're going to be getting lots of reaction from around Germany. Two events there, Karl Anker on the unexpectedly exciting Slovakia, Romania. Dom Fifield on the bitter reaction of the Belgian fans to the boobish performance of their team. Hopefully, we'll also be hearing from top Georgian Nika Kevkashvili. Hopefully, we'll also be hearing from Georgia's Nika Kevkashvili after his team pulled off one of the biggest shocks in tournament football that I can remember in a long, long time against Portugal this evening. I think Rafael Honstein's turning up as well at some point when he's finished his pretzel. Good. All right, Colin. Georgia going through. Woof.
Woof indeed. I mean, this is a fantastic story, isn't it? And talking about is this the biggest shock in the competition's history?
Is it?
Well, if you go by FIFA World Rankings, it is, as Georgia were 74th and Portugal are 6th. So that's a difference of 68 places by my maths, which overtakes Slovakia's win over Belgium earlier in the tournament.
Right.
But this was about much more than that. Like, obviously, Portugal had rung the changes going into this. Had changed 8 players from their 3-0 win over Turkey. They'd already won the group and they were going through. But for Georgia to put in the performance they did, I mean, they were thoroughly deserved winners here, and they played with all the energy, all the belief that they could do it, and just a fantastically well-earned result.
Magnificent, wasn't it? We've got the full list of last 16 teams now, and there are some other surprising names in there, wouldn't you say, Charlie Eccleshare?
Yeah, it's a good set of matches, I think.
Including England-Slovakia. That's one you're looking forward to. Should we?
Yeah.
The final, the last 16 looks like this. On one side of the bracket, you've got Spain against Georgia.
That's great.
If you're Spain.
That's a really
They face
tasty
each other
one.
in qualifying, and Spain won 7-1. Anyway.
Former goes out the window.
That's so true. It's cup football, isn't it? Spain, Georgia, Germany, Denmark. Portugal will be taking on Slovenia, and France will be up against Belgium. The other side of the draw has England, Slovakia, as mentioned, Switzerland, Italy, Romania against Netherlands, and Austria, Turkey, which sounds entertaining. We'll get on to the reasons for that maybe a little bit later when we look at Turkey's game with the Czech Republic, but let's make it about England. Is Slovakia the worst kind of team?
Well, this is a repeat of the Sam Allardyce game in charge of England, which England won 1-0 with an Adam Lallana goal. I mean, yeah, having played Serbia, Slovenia, now Slovakia, I mean, we were kind of conflicted, weren't we, watching this, just from a kind of purely English perspective, because there were sets of results that would have meant they played Holland. And I think we were all kind of in agreement that Holland might have been better opponents for England in some ways, just that it was
more open.
More open.
More
it would have felt like a different dynamic.
Hmm.
This does feel a little bit like here we go again. I think it's a hard one to get too excited about.
I think
Really?
well, if England were to win this, unless they do it in a really convincing fashion, everyone's going to say, well, it was just Slovakia, right? I mean, it's just another game that you should easily be winning. We're almost like if they had to play the Netherlands and you go through that, it's like, well, actually, we've beaten a team who maybe would be around par with us, and that would sort of give real momentum to a team who badly need it. But it sort of does feel like this will just be another template of those rather tedious group stage games.
Away with you and your negativity, Colin.
But maybe that's what they need to do. I mean, the weird thing is with knockout football, they can keep, to some degree. I mean, the place they are in clearly the better half. I mean, they can't play any of Spain, Georgia, Germany, Portugal, or France till the final.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, they can keep kind of feeling their way into this tournament. I mean, yes, eventually they will have to raise their level, but it might not necessarily have to be in this game too much. They could scrape their through, and then Switzerland or Italy, who knows?
Who knows? Quick check on the results from Wednesday. It was a lively 1-1 draw between Slovakia and Romania Wednesday afternoon. That's Group E. The other game in that group saw a grim 0-0 between Ukraine and Belgium. Ukraine now exit the competition. In the evening, Portugal already qualified, lost 2-0 to Georgia. Turkey, meanwhile, beat 10-man Czech Republic 2-1 to take second spot. Very good. We're going to begin, I think, with Georgia. Excellent. Have you got some crazy Georgian comms? Crazy Georgian comms. Woo! Well, 2 games on simultaneously. Colin, we split screen it. You had the Turkey game. Charlie, you were all over Georgia, Portugal, and all the drama, all the history.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it started really excitingly, Georgia getting that early goal, which was sort of gifted to, well, not the goal itself wasn't gifted, but the chance to, the opportunity to go and create the chance which they scored was gifted to them, took it brilliantly. And then I have to say, I mean, I thought, towards the end of the first half, I thought Portugal probably would come back and get something ultimately. They had a lot of pressure in that first half. João Felix was quite dangerous, Conceição as well. And given that they'd made 8 changes, it looked like, well, they'll probably just empty the bench in the second half and probably, get a 1-1 or something. And then Georgia scored at perfect time, really. Just when
66 was it?
It's a little earlier than that,
okay.
I think. But it was just when the game, I think 57th, just when the game was in the balance a bit. And then after that, I thought they were really comfortable and controlled it.
That first goal, apart from the fact that because of the extraordinary kit permutations, we had Portugal playing in a kind of white and light blue, whereas Georgia were in the dark red. So when I saw a player bombing down the field, I thought, here we go, Portugal. And it was only later that I discovered, being an expert.
How much later? Also, because we had the commentary on the other game.
Yeah, we had comments on the other game. Oh, Georgia has scored. No, but
what a swing in your mind.
Absolutely. It was Antonio Silva who kind of Harry Kaned the ball straight to a Georgian player. It was Mikatadze, who's been absolutely key for them, who then lays it off to Kvaratskhelia, who's already galloping down the flank. And he's had a quiet tournament so far, very much the standout star of this squad. But brilliant finish, 93 seconds in, and they're already 1-0 up.
Yeah, such a good finish. And he played really well this game. And he went on a kind of mad dribble in the first half as well. Just looked so strong and clearly grew in confidence after that goal.
Portugal had their chances.
They did, yeah.
There was a lot of pouting and sour-faced behaviour by Cristiano Ronaldo, which I get.
He could have been sent off. I mean, we had which would have been.
Well, this was the interesting thing. Sorry to interrupt, because as you mentioned, Roberto Martinez had changed 8 of his 10 outfield players. Naturally, Ronaldo is one of the ones who wasn't changed, but he then picked up a yellow card for complaining to the referee. And he did look, because he wasn't stopping, he did look like he might have picked up a second, in which case he didn't need to play in this game. Portugal were already qualified, and he would have been missing for the last 16. None of that happened. How good was Mamardashvili for Georgia, the goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been discussion as to whether he's been the goalkeeper of the tournament. I think that was your shout, Colin, and he looked very, very assured.
Yeah, he had a great season with Valencia as well. He's one of these players who's pretty consistently linked to a lot of clubs with more money than Valencia have at the minute, and he's shown it again tonight in this game, and he's shown it throughout the tournament. And I was really interested just sort of having my eye on the Georgia game as well. It's sort of been the theme throughout the tournament. They were a little bit unlucky to lose to Turkey in the first game. That was probably arguably the sort of standout match of the tournament so far in terms of entertainment. And then in Czech Republic game, they were holding on, but then they had that wonderful chance to win it on the counter in the last minute. And that was how they played against Portugal. It was the template of just sort of whenever they could win the ball in the opposition half and then break really quickly, really directly. And obviously, Kvaratskhelia is almost like the perfect player for that. And now Mikitadze is the top scorer of the tournament, 3 goals. So, I mean, they've got players who are now starting to enter a bit of form. And look, I mean, Georgia are obviously massive outsiders, and this is their first ever major tournament, their first ever major tournament victory as well in this game. So it's a nation who are still a young nation, who are still developing as a football nation as well. But I don't think teams will really want to face them too much because, as I said, I mean, you look at them, they're well organised and they're direct. You know what you're going to get. But there's that danger there, isn't there? And when a team feels like, well, we've got nothing to lose at this stage, we've already accomplished what we set out to accomplish here. So
very much so, and more. Mikitadze with the second goal, as you mentioned, now tournament top scorer, 3 goals, level with Lukaku disallowed efforts, but still 4 behind own goal. Hopefully, very shortly, we'll be hearing from Nika Kevkishvili on the reaction among the Georgian fans there at the game, because extraordinary. Portugal, though, to what extent does this impact on their progress, on their state of mind? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is quite a lot of frustration with Martinez, but I think that's, that was kind of there already, and then this just gives those people an excuse to kind of get at him. And I think the frustration is their depth had been held up as kind of their big asset in this tournament, and then they've kind of played a lot of those fringe players, and it's not gone so well. I don't think it necessarily has to mean a huge amount, and they'll have a pretty well rested team to play Slovenia in the last 16, so you'd think they'd be in a very, very good position to get to the quarters.
Yeah, I think as well. Maybe Portugal needed this as well because they won all 10 of their qualification matches. They kept 9 clean sheets as well. They haven't really had a bump in the road under Martinez, but this sort of feels like obviously a lot of changes, but it sort of feels like he'll learn more from this than he would have done in the other group games. So I think maybe it's a bit of a wake up call that they needed. That we need to really focus here because this is when the tournament really starts for them.
Okay, we'll come back to Georgia perhaps a little bit later on. But the other game in the group Wednesday night was the Czech Republic against Turkey, which, Colin, you were all over. The Czechs going down to 10 men about 20 minutes in when Antonin Barak already picked up his second yellow card. They battled bravely, but now bow out of the competition to the side that the Athletics calling Vincenzo Montella's entertainers. Is that a fair description?
It probably is a fair description. As I said, they obviously had that win over Georgia, which is a crazily entertaining game, and then they almost imploded against Portugal in the next match, and then tonight was entertaining too. And I guess they're a fun team to watch, certainly. And this game is obviously sort of make or break for them against Czech Republic, who I actually think this might sound a bit odd because they only picked up 1 point in the tournament, but arguably they were the unluckiest team in the tournament, right? And
why were they? Oh, the VAR Czechs.
Yeah.
Ironically, the Czechs didn't go for them.
Yeah, but it was from before the tournament actually, because they had a warm up game, and there was a midfielder called Mikhail Sadalek who captained the team, and then he fell off his bike out of the tournament. Right, so that's well, okay, that's a bit unlucky. And then the first game against Portugal, whereby they took the lead midway through the second half, they lost 2-1. Okay, but they were maybe a bit unfortunate not to pick up a point in that. And then the Georgia game where they conceded a soft penalty, they then had so many chances to win that. Patrick Schick, their sort of star attacking player, goes off injured, and you sort of think this is going wrong. And then again tonight, the early red card, a couple of VAR checks went against him, and then the Turkey first goal, which was a really good finish by Kalinoglu.
Well, that's fantastic. Not unlucky. That was a brilliant.
Well, it wasn't, but the Czech goalkeeper Jindřich Stanek made a wonderful save about 10 seconds before that, right. And he seemed to, I don't know if he dislocated his shoulder.
Well, he was on the bench with his arm in a sling after, so yeah. No, you're right. So there's a flurry of chances. He makes a brilliant save, but tries to parry the rest with essentially one arm, and the ball comes out to Çalhanoğlu, who...
That's an incredible finish. I'm not sure how close he would have got to it. even with a good arm.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, it was right in the corner, and
Yeah.
it was powerful. Yeah.
If his arm wasn't injured before, it would have been after that. Yeah. Okay, so that was 1-0. But then, even though they've only got 10 men, the Czechs managed to make it 1-1. And you think, could they?
Yeah, and I actually called it earlier in the match. Thomas Souček scoring as a result of a long throw, which is exactly what happened. There's chaos in the Turkish penalty area. They didn't defend it well at all, and Czech Republic battled for it, and they scrapped and they got the goal. And that set up a really exciting last 20 minutes, whereby even though they were down to 10 men, it felt a bit like the Czechs had the momentum and had a bit more about them in terms of a goal threat. And then Cenk Tosun, with another wonderful finish, it has to be said. The substitute killed off the game late on when the Czechs were pushing high up for the winner. So yeah, there was also a bit of bad blood at the end of this match as well. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but there was a lot of players were booked. There was a Czech substitute was sent off.
Yeah, I mean, it had been building during the game because there was an incident, was there, where Souček, I think it was actually given as an offside, but he took one of the Turkish players out and they were all kicking off with him and kind of up in his face. And it looked a little bit like at the final whistle there was a bit of Turkish celebrations in kind of, getting up in the faces of the Czech players a little bit, which didn't go down well.
Unsavoury scenes. Turkey next up will be playing Austria, who might fancy their chances. Yeah.
Well, Austria were the only side that scored more than 2 goals in this round of fixtures, and I think probably the team of the tournament so far in terms of maybe surpassing expectations in terms of what we expected. Obviously, the top.
Although maybe Georgia would like a word on that.
Yeah, true. I mean, but it is. We're talking about one side of the draw being the sort of so-called easier side of the draw, but actually a lot of those teams are actually in better form. So yeah, I mean,
they are. That's an open quarter, isn't it? That Austria, Turkey, Romania, Holland. One of those will be in the semi, and it's hard to pick. I think. I mean, you'd probably go with Austria at this point, but that's pretty evenly matched, I would say.
Those names again, Charlie?
Austria, Turkey, Romania, Holland. One will be in the semi of those 4.
Wow.
Could be Romania. And obviously they played it as well, but
it could be. Could also be Austria or Netherlands, etc. and so on. All right. Well, yeah.
Don't rule out Turkey.
The entertainers. Very good. Well, that's what we made of the 2 games on Wednesday night. Now, earlier in the day, we saw Group E concluding. That was the one with 4 teams, Belgium, Ukraine, Slovakia and Romania, all level on 3 points coming into the afternoon's games. What happened next? We'll talk about that after this. All right. Wednesday afternoon, Group E. Belgium were up against Ukraine. Slovakia took on Romania. And remember, all 4 teams were level on 3 points. Slovakia took on Romania knowing that a draw would take both of them through. There were a lot of fears that this would lead to something of a fix-up in Frankfurt. But whoever cast those aspersions owes both teams an apology because it turned out to be an absolute banger. Carl Anker was lucky enough to be there at the Frankfurt Arena to witness it, and he spoke to us after the final whistle. Carl, we're expecting the disgrace of Frankfurt. What we got was an attacking feast.
Yes, we did. It was 7 shots in the first 13 minutes here in Frankfurt, as both teams absolutely went for it. Slovakia have one of the more interesting kickoff routines that you'll see at this tournament. I think it's 3 to the left, 3 to the right, and then a 1-1-1 at the back. And then they ping it really deep to the left and try and get a nice crossing. Didn't work out the first time. Whereas Romania are huge proponents to get wide, get some short from your boots, and then just run with your man. Just a really thrilling first half where both teams, I believe, ended up with higher XG than England did in the game previous. It was a really nice contrast to the dismal nature of Group C. Also, just a tremendous thunderstorm occurred in this game as well. That frightened the life out of me. There was a crack of lightning that knocked out the tactical feed on my screen, and I really jumped out in my seat. This was a really fun 45 minutes. Got a bit bitty after the hour mark, but the celebrations at the end were remarkable.
Okay, from both sets of fans. I imagine that it did seem from this end as though the last 15 minutes or so, both teams went, yeah, we're through here.
Not quite. I disagree there. I'd say you had a raft of second half substitution, which always affects your rhythm, much like when I'm friendlies where you have too many. And then you had just flights of bits of fouling going on. So not so much taking the foot off the gas, but making sure the other team didn't quite move on. Slovakia have a strong Napoli flavour to this. Lobotka got player of the match in this game, and their manager had a less successful stint with Napoli last season. So there are 2 or 3 touches in there that are very Serie A flavoured. They've got a lot of veteran experience at the back as well. And I think every now and again when Romania began to rise, they just came with a little juice.
Okay. Yeah, and it's hard. You got his first start for Romania. How did he do?
He was good. He was good. Chased after these balls, really made a nuisance of himself. And there's quality in both teams. Can I talk about the end scenario where both dugouts emptied out upon realizing they might have made it to the knockout stages?
Yeah, go for it, Carl.
So Romania, very, very quickly, all rush out, huge celebrations, go over to their side. I say side, I'd say it was more 70-30 Romania to Slovakia in the stadium. Slovakia with a sort of muted clapping as Goaless, free from desire, cracks on. The Slovakians hadn't quite realised that they had gone through to the group because they were still waiting the results from the Belgian game. But once it was finally confirmed, you saw the huge, huge rendition of Free from Desire in the crowd from both sets of fans. And just a tremendous show of good spirit there. That's the happiest I've seen a draw since a very, very long time.
So Romania goes through in top spot and they'll have the easier draw. Based on what you've seen, though, Slovakia kind of quietly turned out to be the better side in this group.
Yes, I think they've got a quality on set pieces in organisation, if not always in execution. That means they have a goal threat. One of the issues with Slovakia is they have a number of wizened, grey-haired, experienced players, 2 or 3 members of the 100-plus cap show, and the penalty they gave away, yeah, that's the sort of thing you don't really want to be giving away in knockout games either.
Indeed not. Carl, we'll be seeing more from both Slovakia and Romania. Look forward to hearing more from you. Many thanks for that.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
There you go. That was Slovakia, Romania. 1-1 that finished Duda early doors, and then the penalty belted into the top left corner by Marin, and Slovakia, who I was bigging up there as the better team from this group, are due a date with England. Yeah.
I mean, that penalty, wow. That really
Why
is.
did you like it so much?
I just love, I love penalties where it's so deliberately put in the top corner. It's almost hit like a free kick. And it makes it look so easy and so low risk somehow. It was just perfect. Completely unsavable.
Funny, this is the game that people thought would be a little bit of a biscotto, to use the Italian term, with them kind of passing it around. I'm not sure how practical that would have been on that Frankfurt pitch. Because, But this was quite lively. And the other game was an absolute... Well, Colin, did you see much of the other game?
Yeah, well, I did see it, and I wasn't overly impressed by the bits that I saw. I just saw that going into it, because obviously Belgium and Ukraine, before this group started, I was like, well, they're both going to go through, 3 times, whatever. But those opening day results, whereby Slovakia edged out Belgium 1-0, okay, you can kind of put that down to a bit of luck with what happened in that game. But Ukraine were pretty heavily beaten by Romania, and okay, they recovered against Slovakia, but they needed to get a win in this game. And you look at the individuals that Ukraine have, and when you talk about Ukraine, it's difficult because obviously the context of what that nation is going through and what those players and their families are going through is obviously something that we would really struggle to actually empathise with. But nevertheless, if you were looking at in terms of the individual quality in that squad, you think, yeah, they should have been doing much better than what they did. And you look at Artem Dobvik, who was the top goal scorer in La Liga last season. And
is he any relation to the one who played today?
He just didn't look like himself at all, did he, Jimbo? He was a guy who just didn't look like he had any goal threat whatsoever. He just didn't look like the same player he did at club level. And that's exactly the same as Andrei Lunin, who made those mistakes in the opening game and then was subsequently dropped. Now, Lunin had a fantastic season as Real Madrid's essentially their first choice goalkeeper after Courtois got injured, because they'd signed Kepa and then it was like, well, actually, this guy's really good. Let's just play him, and he took his chance. But you look through, I think Zinchenko as well of Arsenal didn't start today, and Mudryk was out injured. Malinovsky didn't start, and these are players who you think they would be the stars, but just didn't step up.
Malinovsky, because Ukraine really gave it a go in the final 15 minutes or so. Things didn't go their way. Malinovsky with a couple of chances, one in particular from a corner. He almost snuck it in. The ball got halfway across the line before the keeper got to it. And that would have essentially taken them through. But as you say, a lot of the names that we'd expected to perform, Dovbyk, Lunin, didn't in this. And You mentioned the circumstances, the horrifying circumstances that country's going through. We heard from Irina Kojupa yesterday on the show describing about, and I think as much as we're aware of everything and the pressures that they must be feeling as representatives, maybe that's one of the reasons why they weren't able to perform at the way they'd like. One thing about this game, at the end of the match, for all the disappointment, they went over to their supporters who applauded them and what they managed to achieve. Meanwhile, Belgium, who are through, started to head down to see their fans and quickly ditched that idea when they saw the kind of reception that was awaiting them. Dominic Fifield was actually at the game, and he told us this. Dom, no goals for you this afternoon. Ukraine going out to the applause of their fans, Belgium going through to the boos of their own supporters.
Absolutely remarkable scenes at the end. I have to say, these put into proper context what Gareth Southgate and the England players endured the previous night in Cologne. They're absolutely disgusted with that performance from their team. And Belgium's players, and they were going to go and applaud them. Kevin De Bruyne was leading the players over. And he saw what was the reaction, heard the noise, and just turned them all round. Tedesco was pulling them over to the sidelines as well. And they ended up doing a huddle on the halfway line. Where obviously the coach has presumably told them to forget about it and focus on the knockout. But I think that reflected a really quite a poor performance from Belgium yet again.
Second best for most of this game. What do you think of their prospects against France in the last 16?
Well, I guess you've got two teams who are pretty bang out of form, to be honest, judging by the French yesterday. As it stands, I can't see where Belgium can get beyond France. De Bruyne is playing really well. He is playing really well. But Lukaku's got devoid of confidence. Jeremy Doku keeps backing to the seas. He starts games really impressively on the wing. And you think this is the moment he's going to take this tournament by storm. And then it all just peters out. And they just look disjointed. The way that Ukraine were able to find pockets of space. And in the last 10 minutes, actually caused proper problems to a leaky and slightly fragile-looking Belgian defence. So Kylian Mbappe turns up in that game. I really can't see Belgium troubling the score.
All right, Dom. Well, it's been a testing afternoon for you and certainly the Belgian fans. Many thanks for that report. We'll catch up with you soon.
All the best, guys.
Yeah, Dom Fifield. All right. Funny, they're another of those teams that when you looked at them pre-tournament, you thought, well, they'll go far, won't they? But Christophe Theroux was telling us before the competition started that no, they absolutely wouldn't. And they got France next to, Charlie, you mentioned, not exactly on fire themselves, but that's a tough game for them.
Yeah, I have to say I didn't think Belgium would do loads at this tournament beforehand. Yeah, they've been really disappointing. I think that's partly just because they often have been quite disappointing at major tournaments, and obviously now, quite a few of those players feel like they're quite a long way beyond their best. Lukaku probably paramount amongst them.
But from that group to not win the group when you're Belgium, I think it's not a great look.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's interesting how Dom mentioned the booing at the end in the comparison to England, because I think Belgium's problems are very similar to England's. It's a really imbalanced squad and trying to just base too much of your play around maybe 3 or 4 individuals, and when they don't turn up or if they're not clicking, it doesn't really feel like there's much to it. And of course you look at their defence and you've got a 37-year-old Jan Vertonghen alongside Wout Faes as their sort of central defensive pairing. It just doesn't feel like it's at the level to challenge the top teams at these major tournaments. And yeah, I mean, if Kylian Mbappe's on his game against that defence, I can't really see there being any other outcome than France getting through that.
We shall see. We shall see. That game coming up on July the 1st. What day is July the 1st?
That's Monday.
Is it on Monday? Is it on Monday? Last 16 begins on Saturday. And looks intriguing. We'll get on to what awaits on Saturday and hear from Rafael Honstein next. Yep, so the group stage is over, a bit like the end of season 1 of your box set. We've wrapped up those storylines, but cleverly set up a whole new group of cliffhangers. Saturday's big questions are what's going to happen between Germany and Denmark, and can Italy get a win against Switzerland? We'll talk about that game very shortly. The winner of that match, of course, will be playing whoever comes out of England, Slovakia. But first off, Germany, Denmark. A very good opportunity to hear from our roving friend, Rafael Honstein. Rafael Honstein, nice to see you.
And you, James?
When we spoke on the eve of the tournament, you were, positive, but said that you hadn't really experienced that big tournament feeling yet. 2 weeks on, what are you thinking about Euro 2024?
I think it's come alive, James. You still don't quite get the same vibes with the World Cup because the Americans are missing, and Germany being quite comfortably located means that a lot of supporters come in and out for the day rather than clog up the streets and party all night. But you still get a sense that people, especially in Germany, are happy with the way Germany's been playing. And yeah, it's been really good fun, really enjoyable. And the weather's turned. I think that's made a big difference. It's lovely.
Excellent. What have you enjoyed the most, can I ask?
Well, really enjoyed the atmosphere in the 3 games I saw with Austria. Incredible vibes. I mean, the Olympic Stadium in Berlin is not really the best football stadium because it has the track and one side is open. But both against Poland and last night against the Dutch, the atmosphere was just incredible. Both sets of fans just having an amazing time. The noise was just unbelievable. And really, really, really good fun.
Excellent. Not sure who's in charge of that Austrian team, but they're doing a pretty fine job.
Who knows? Who knows?
What's been the biggest surprise for you?
That's an easy one. Just how abjectly poor England are. I really thought that they would be one of the teams to beat. They might still be one of the contenders that have so much going for them that we could overlook 1 or 2 problems. I think all the big teams have problems. I thought England would manage their problems really well and show us how good they are going forward. But it's just been probably the worst England I've seen since 2006, I would say. And that was a real low point. I mean, that was the one game against Ecuador in Frankfurt where I fell asleep in the stadium. That's never happened before and not since. But I think this England are a similar level. Well, mind you, 2010 was pretty poor as well. So yeah, one for the history books, one for historians to pick over, which if this is indeed a new nadir or just in line with those other disappointments. But of course, they're still unbeaten, and who knows? Maybe they can just suffer ball their way all the way to Berlin.
Perhaps. What about the host team, though, Rafa? Such a strong start against the Scots. Then the 2-0 win over Hungary, only just scraping a draw with Niklas Füllkrug against Switzerland. Now Denmark in the last 16, and potentially, if you get through that, Spain in the quarters.
Yeah, I think the Switzerland game was a timely reality check. Scotland, as we said, I think after the game, there was a big suspicion they might be the worst team in the tournament, and that's probably been borne out. And Hungary are okay, but not that good, or not as good as they used to be, certainly. Switzerland, just with organization and pressing, just took away a lot of Germany's composure. Toni Kroos had a lot less time. The team had a lot less rhythm. It was a little bit more disjointed. The passing was a little bit off. And, when plan A is all about passing in small spaces, but your build-up isn't quite right and your pass isn't quite right, then things kind of, I don't want to say fall apart, but stutter. And luckily, plan B worked just, which was to be more direct and put a few crosses in. But I think Germany's limitations, especially at the back, were brought into sharp focus. And with the possibility of the 2 first-choice centre-backs not being available, Tah certainly suspended. Rudiger is touch and go with the hamstring issue. I think the Danes will probably not think that this is a foregone conclusion.
Indeed not. So little has been in this competition, apart from maybe games against Spain, and that's who you would face if you get past Denmark, probably.
I mean, Germany have certainly the much tougher side of the draw with Spain to come, hopefully, in the quarters. And then on the other side, it's Portugal and France if they win their 2 next knockout games. So Germany will have to go to Berlin the hard way. But, it's the Euros, so I don't think they could hope for the kind of luck or the draw that Gary Southgate seems to have so far.
Okay. Can I say it's been an absolutely terrific Euros. One or two issues there on the ground, but for us watching the action, it's been an absolutely splendid tournament. So I think our collective thanks to Germany for putting on this show.
Thank you very much. I'll receive those thanks on behalf of the German nation very gladly. Thank you. I'll pass them on.
Okay, then. Raph, we'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, James.
Footballing ambassador Rafael Honstein there, and Germany's game with Denmark is at 8 o'clock on Saturday evening. Before that, team that he was just talking about that caused his Germany all sorts of problems, Switzerland, and their clash with Italy. And as I believe we've mentioned, the winner of this will play the winner of England, Slovakia, whoever that might be. It's an intriguing game, this, for a lot of reasons. One, because do you know, Switzerland have not beaten Italy for 31 years. 31 years. Secondly, because the Swiss team's full of people who do really well in Serie A, not just Sommer of Inter, but also three of the players who made Bologna revelations of this Italian season. So that's going to be interesting. Italy, of course, only just got past Croatia thanks to that extraordinary Zaccagni goal. And 3 games in, I don't think we're any closer to knowing what kind of challenge they can offer. Spalletti with a little bit of work to do ahead of that game.
Switzerland as well at the last European Championships, they were a team that obviously came back against France and eventually eliminated them in the round of 16 on penalty shootout, and then they took Spain all the way to a penalty shootout with 10 men in the quarterfinals. And they're a team who, again, they're unbeaten in this tournament, and they almost defeated Germany, as we just spoke about. So yeah, they're dangerous. I mean, I was impressed with them. I thought they were really good in their first game against Hungary, and I think they're just one of those teams that you kind of think they're going to be involved in penalty shootouts in the knockout stage. It's very difficult to beat, and just a team who believe in themselves and never really go away.
I think only France have a better record in terms of getting to the knockout stages of Euro competitions than Switzerland in recent. That's a half-remembered statistic.
No, they're absolute perennials. I mean,
right.
They are always in the last.
They
16.
are also a team who drew 1-1 with Scotland, though, in this tournament. So,
yeah.
What are you saying?
I mean, for perspective. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, Saturday then, Switzerland, Italy at 5, and then Germany, Denmark at 8. And after that, it'll be totally at the Euros all over again, fresh from 2 whole days off. Good Lord. Listen, I do hope you'll be joining us for that and the next few days as we cover the last 16. For now, though, many, many thanks to everyone who took part, both from Germany and here in the studio, Colin and Charlie, and Liam and guest producer Lucy in the booth. Have a great couple of days. We'll be with you late on Saturday, early morning Sunday. For now, from all of us here, it's goodbye.